So I finally finished up reviewing all the movies in the Rocky franchise. Now it's time to rank all of them, including the new one, Creed 2. Let's do this. What's up, guys? This video is going to be fun. We're going to rank the Rocky movies. Also, if you go to the Drumdums Spreadshirt, there is a Drumdums Rocky t-shirt that you can buy. I'll put a card right here for that. Designed by the great Woody Bowen. Also, Cody Leach has a Drago version Cody Leach Rocky shirt. You can get that at his store, so check that out as well. But anyway, on to the countdown. Let's don't waste any time here. And before I get into this, let me just say this is a super tough list to put together because there are quite a few of these movies that I rank super high, like almost Trapped on an Island. So if my number 5 might be a movie that I freaking absolutely love. It's a tough ranking to put together, and it could change at the drop of a hat. So keep that in mind. But number 5, no surprise here, Rocky 5. Rocky 5 it just doesn't feel like it belongs in the franchise. When Stallone put this movie out, this was supposed to be the last Rocky movie, but it left such a sour taste in his mouth and everybody else's mouth that he had to come back and thankfully make Rocky Balboa. One of the biggest crimes that this one does is it makes Rocky fight in the street at the end. But my biggest problem with it really is it doesn't have that like natural progression like the rest of the Rocky movies do. It just kind of bounces all over the place, tone-wise. And it's a tough movie for me to get through, if I'm being honest. Some really nice moments in this movie, I will say that. I don't hate this movie at all, but it's just not one that I watch that often just because there's so many great movies in this franchise. Number 7 is an easy one for me too. I'm going to say Rocky 3. Now, having said that, Rocky 3 has one of the best final fights out of the whole bunch. Clubber Lang was such a worthy opponent. One of the better opponents out of the whole franchise, actually. And that fight, with them two, the really close-ups in their faces, go for it. I like the way this one was actually filmed, and Stallone directed this one. He directed quite a few of them, actually, but I like how this fight, it just felt so big and so epic. And up to this point was definitely the best final fight out of, the first 3 movies. I think everything leading up to the final fight, it's good, it's entertaining, but there is some overly melodramatic moments throughout. I'm not the biggest fan of, Rocky fighting Hulk Hogan in this movie. That's just kind of a scene that takes me out of it. And, but yeah, some nice moments in this one. Mickey dies in this one, which is really sad. And that scene with Stallone crying over Mickey, I have to mention that. That is one of the best performances by Stallone out of the whole franchise, actually. And I think that's how somebody would actually act when losing someone so dear to them. Okay, from here on out, guys, all these movies I freaking love immensely. And I do love Rocky 3 as well. But, these are like at least 4 out of 5 and up. I'll go ahead and say that right now, okay? So number 6 is Rocky Balboa. I just reviewed this one not too long ago. And this one's one of the most emotional out of the bunch. And it's a proper comeback for the character after Rocky 5. I just like, that age ain't nothing but a number theme in this movie. And nobody took Rocky as a character seriously. Nobody took Stallone as an actor seriously around this time. So it's another one of those art imitating life things with this character. And it really works so well. My biggest problem with Rocky Balboa is the final fight. It's probably one of my least favorites of the bunch. But everything up to that final fight is, just great character moments. Stallone gives him, I think, an Oscar-worthy performance in this. So, yeah, Rocky Balboa, number 6. Number 5, this one was super tough for me. I'm going to say Creed 2. And, this is a movie that I just saw last night. That final fight, I'll go ahead and say it right now, is probably my second favorite final fight out of the whole bunch. The way it was choreographed, Victor Drago is the most imposing, might even be more imposing than his father, Ivan Drago from Rocky 4. This guy was just a monster. And you had some really nice moments. I had a little bit of problem with the pacing of it, but overall, Creed 2 I think is a super solid entry in the franchise. Loved Stallone in this movie, actually. I think he really has some nice tender moments throughout this one. And I love the training montage in this one too. I think Rocky used a different approach for Adonis to take on Victor, because to take on a fighter that big, you can't just fight him like you would normally fight, like a Ricky Conlan. And I love that part of this movie. Number 4 is going to be Creed. Creed, I think, was such a surprise to everybody. Even when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be another, it's going to be a spinoff of Rocky, and there's no way it's going to compare to the rest of the Rocky movies. Boy, was I wrong. What Ryan Coogler did, and I think he is the secret ingredient here, is nothing short of amazing with Creed. You know, really giving Creed, the character, his own voice in the franchise, which was so refreshing. Still using Rocky in the background, but I think Michael B. Jordan was such a great pick as Adonis Creed. And I just found the whole thing interesting. You know, this kid that never got to meet his father because his father died. And so, you know, he was always living in his shadow. And I found that story so interesting. And this probably has some of the most emotional moments out of the whole franchise. Number 3 is going to be Rocky 2. Simply because the final fight in Rocky 2 is probably one of my favorites. And everything building up to that final fight was just so legendary, actually. The training montage in this movie, right before it, when Adrian says "win," gives me chills every single time. I think it's probably my favorite training montage, just because there's so much heart and emotion in it. But I can't stress enough how great that final fight is. Plus, this one was a cool movie because it takes place right after the first movie. So, you know, when you got this kind of has-been boxer that's just taken on the champion of the world, what is the aftermath of that? What is the fallout of that? And Rocky 2 really explores that quite well, you know, all the way down to, like, you know, from a financial standpoint. You know, you would think that this person would be set for life, but no, you know, Rocky 2 really spells it out. Doesn't mean you're going to be, you know, sunglasses and swimming pools after. It's a hard lesson in, you know, I guess money management. And so Rocky really had to get back into the ring for a couple of reasons in this movie. One being that he was constantly scrutinized and made fun of by Apollo Creed to get him back in the ring. So there was a pride thing there. And then really just to financially take care of his family. You know, he found out that Adrian was pregnant. So I like all that in this one. And then the final fight, like I said, is just so amazing. The scene at the end where he wins the belt and he says, "Yo, Adrian, I did it." You couldn't pick a better way to end it. Then number 2 and number 1 were so freaking tough for me. And I go back and forth all the time. If I did this ranking a week ago, my number 2 might have been my number 1. It's just like that for me. But right now I'm going to say my number 2 is, I still can't even think of it right now. I'm going to say Rocky. I'm going to say the first Rocky is my number 2. It really deserves number 1 because from a filmmaking standpoint, I think it's the better of Rocky 4, you know, because you already know Rocky 4 is going to be number 1. But I think this is a Trapped on an Island movie. This is a 5 out of 5 movie. The story of how Rocky was made is just as interesting as the movie itself. You know, that Stallone could not get this movie made for nothing. You know, no studio wanted to have any part of it. And you know, that story of him being offered, you know, $200,000, $300,000 and so on. And he stuck to his guns because he wanted to be in the movie. He wanted to play the character of Rocky. And he could have easily said, yeah, sure, have somebody else play Rocky. I'll take, you know, your $300,000 and I can go have a nice life. But no, he believed in the script so much that he said, hey, I gotta stick to my guns. I got to play this character. And I'm so glad he did because nobody could play Rocky like Stallone did. But this is a movie I watch every year. It's just such a heartwarming movie, and it's an underdog story. It's one of the best underdog stories ever. But the big thing is, I always tell people, it's one of the greatest love stories I've ever seen. And I think that's often overlooked. You know, the story of how Rocky and Adrian come together, I think, is perfectly told in this movie. And at the end, when, you know, Rocky really stuns the world by going toe-to-toe with the world champion, the only thing on his mind is Adrian. He wants to be with Adrian, and I think that's just beautiful. And then my number 1 is Rocky 4. Just because this was a time in my life, I was 13 years old. I was a fan of the series, but seeing this movie in the theater, still to this day, my greatest theater experience ever. You know, seeing Rocky go against Ivan Drago, this opponent that is just, you know, he's like a machine. There's no way you could ever imagine Rocky beating this guy. But then once you see that training montage and everything he goes through, you know, really going all natural with his training regimen, by the time he actually fights him, even though, you know, Drago towers above him, you buy it. You buy that this guy, because of his heart that's just so big, that he's able to take him on. It feels like an action movie at times, but it's just so unique out of the franchise. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm putting it at the top of my list. And it's the one that I watch the most easily. It's just a movie that you can throw in at any time. And as far as like final fights go, I think it's probably the best. I do. I don't think anything could top the final fight in Rocky IV. I just watched it with my son actually the other day, and he was like, wow, I forgot how great of a movie that was. Rocky IV is just so fun. That's what it is. It's just a really fun movie. So anyway, guys, that's my ranking for the Rocky series. Post your rankings below in the comments. I'm really looking forward to hearing them because I know there's going to be a lot of different mixed opinions on these movies. But I will say, I think the Rocky franchise is probably one of the, average-wise, one of the best franchises out there. You know, as far as like quality of movies go. Most of the movies are really great. Also, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Maybe not Stardust anymore because they make you do a phone number thing, and I used an old phone number for my account, and now I can't log into my account, so I might not be doing Stardust anymore. Sorry, guys. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.